The Trump administration has increased U.S. demands that China stop intellectual property theft and what the U.S. calls other unfair trade practices.
It's the greatest theft in the history of the world.
If you have an electronic product that's labeled made in China, the chances are its parts come from here and end up all over the world, including the U.S.
When you see China, these are fierce people in terms of negotiation. They want to take your throat out. They want to cut you apart.
Well, you heard it, China. Man, you know, China's a thing, thanks to President Trump. Hello, Earth. It's me, JHK, the Heartless Knight, and you're listening to the premiere edition episode of the Heartless Podcast. Our intern, Jimmy, was offered a job with NBC, and, you know, I know network television is on its last legs and everything, but he felt like the experience would be worth it, and honestly, I think they offered to pay him, although I can't see why that would be a deciding factor. Well, kids, it's Monday, and it's November the 4th, and things are happening all over the globe. It's not just China, it's not just America, but let's talk for just a minute about China, okay? Because there's some stuff going on. President Trump has decided over the last couple months to just ignore the fact that the U.S.'s electronics have been being assembled in China for the last couple of decades. And he's decided to level charges of theft and, oh God, it's this whole thing against the third largest superpower, second largest probably, in the world. The second largest superpower in the world, and one of our allies for decades, China. Well, Trump over the last couple months, has decided that that China assembling our electronics and our items and is the greatest theft of ideas and technology in American history. Oh, it's huge. It's huge. They've stolen everything. Everything is made in China. Okay, I mean, now keep in mind, he's saying the greatest theft in American history, but this is the same guy, okay, that applauded Stonewall Jackson for saving the Civil War, you know, forgetting that Stonewall was, like, shot and killed by his own troops halfway through the conflict. I mean, you know, it's a team killed by his own f***tards, which President Trump is ironically unaware of as he attempts to shoot us in the foot while enforcing ridiculous trade embargoes on the second largest superpower on Earth and one of our allies for decades. It's ridiculous. And people that work in factories and, you know, in stores and stuff, they're getting mad, you know, they're getting mad at us. He's making the rest of us look bad, you know, as our country slides steadily, like, you know, the lip of a stroke victim, off its pedestal, man, you know, and, it's beginning to change. A hard-won positive opinion of Americans as a whole is reflecting the ridiculous price of electronics and numerous other goods, you know, that they have to pay under Trump's current trade agreements. This made all the more frustrating as this age of technology continues to evolve all around us at breakneck speed. The people, this is important, the people that assemble your iPods and your phones and you couldn't afford to own them, okay, even if the communist regime currently in power were to allow it, which they don't. Instead, the Chinese are forced to use knockoffs, you know, assembled over there, you know, non-capitalist products of equal value, which our president has again labeled technology and ideas stolen from the United States, stolen by China. It's the greatest theft in American history. Oh my God. Meanwhile, of course, he dodges interviewers asking questions about his role in the intimidation and coercion of 2020 presidential candidates, and, you know, it's still pending current impeachment hearing that could be reviewed by members of Congress before the January closure.
The U.S. has indicted hackers connected to the Chinese military for stealing specs of an American power plant similar to this model and navigation satellite technology. And the U.S. says the most expensive weapons system ever, the American F-35, looks just like the Chinese J-31 because Chinese hackers stole the design.
I mean, you know, it doesn't get any better than that. They're just... We're a global community, all right? I mean, we're not at war with China. So why the hell shouldn't they have some of our technology? Why the hell shouldn't they be able, aside from being communists, to move in to the 21st century? I don't see a problem with that. But of course, Captain Cheeto, he's got to make a big deal out of it. Got to call lots of press conferences and wave his arms around and forget Melania and whatever the hell her name is on the front lawn as he walks off. So, yeah, like I said earlier, China is it's a thing, thanks to the administrative acumen of, unquestionably, the second dumbest individual ever to occupy the Oval Office. I mean, administrative and foreign policy decisions made while in office by a person who in the past has been considered by many the leader of the free world. All right. Donald Trump is now quickly losing that respected position. And this is no joke, to the communist leader of China. Okay. That's who the world is looking to for common sense and leadership. All right. To the leader of a still communist country. And it's it. And it's unbelievable. It just really is. I mean, China didn't even have a choice to appoint a leader elected by the people in a fair and balanced democratic election. This is just some asshole the Red Army decided was going to be the new face of the free world. Oh my God. And there's the UK with bad Boris Johnson, and this guy took over, and and within a week, showed his Trumpness, and wasted no time, causing a situation that could cripple the British Empire, Northern Ireland, the European Union, and potentially the entire global economy. Okay, because his parents made enough money to, make being rude to France socially acceptable. I guess, it's cracking good sport. What? But to get back to China's communist prime minister, said asshole is swiftly on his way to becoming the acceptable choice to replace the POTUS as the leading voice of reason in the unified global community. Just let that roll around for a minute or so while we go to the phones. Nothing. No calls. Okay. All right. We are not going to the phones. We're coming straight back to the broadcast. Somewhere here, I've got, I've got footage of Trump sticking his foot right in it. I mean, isn't there? There's plenty of that, isn't there? But I mean, wow, this guy, this Trumpy guy, he just amazes me.
We can't continue to allow China to rape our country, and that's what they're doing. It's the greatest theft in the history of the world. When you see
the greatest theft in the history of the world. His words, folks. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. It's been openly discussed with Trump right in the room. I played footsie under the table at the G7, peace summit with Vladimir Putin, the ex-KGB leader of the third largest superpower on the globe, and no friend to the American way of life, I can tell you that. But Russia is a whole other ugly bag of snakes I'll cover in a future podcast. I just don't want you to get any more scared than you already are. Maybe, if I start discussing the former Soviet Socialist Republic and its pro-communist leader. Speaking of community, Switzerland has recently come forward in protest of the refugee program that has seen the population there swell to unreasonable and, according to some, unmanageable levels over the last couple of years. It's gotten to the point that generally friendly people are becoming increasingly hostile to those seeking refuge from the war in the Middle East. It's crazy. This has included the global slandering and discrediting of one of their own, in light of the recent climate protests held in Washington, D.C. last September. One of their own who, it should be mentioned, is only a teenage girl. She's concerned with, the future resource and ecological management currently employed by the leaders of the global community. The fact is, these young people are no longer waiting to inherit the earth from its current stewards. I mean, many are old enough and well-informed enough, obviously, with the internet to want their opinions and positions on certain topics known as the problem continues growing on a daily basis. A daily basis. I mean, even if the science concerning global warming turns out to be complete nonsense, as a lot of people would have you believe, at the current rate of consumption, combined with the rampant overpopulation affecting most countries of the world, we are dangerously close to using up what resources our planet can give us, with no foreseeable alternatives being tabled. Instead, and this is typical, they leave our young people's future in the hands of organized religion's catch-all solution to not taking responsibility for anything we do, the biblical end of the world. Seriously, if any of you plan on floating off into the air, into heaven during the rapture, just, you know what? Can you hurry up and do that? Because, frankly, I could use the rake. Really. Kids, young people worldwide, all right, they're no longer content with this ludicrously short-sighted and irresponsible way of thinking, which older members of the world government, despite the separation we've been assured of in these matters, are more than okay with. It completely removes any responsibility these people might have for the last 50 years of policymaking and lobbyist pandering. I mean, these policies may have already set in motion events which the average citizen, of the globe, is powerless to do anything about. Our only option is to just watch as this train wreck screeches into the proverbial station, where there will most certainly be casualties. And one of these casualties could be the very planet that we call home. Meanwhile, President Trump sows hate and discontent with America's allies, people currently working together aboard the International Space Station, the World Health Organization, the United Nations, NATO, G7, university student unions, ambassadorial appointees, and fucking Greenpeace, for the love of Mickey. When are we going to tell our largely corrupt leadership, enough is enough, and demand some kind of proactive strategy addressing the very real consequences we face if we continue depleting the finite resources available to us at this rate? Okay, and we're going to go to the phones to take some of your calls. And my producer is telling me that there are no calls. All right. Listen. We're going to run out of crude petroleum, all right, in the next 15, 20 years. And we're going to mine the last of Earth's coal within 30. Now, I know that sounds like plenty of time, but we have, and I'm going to stress this, we have no alternative of any kind in place when this eventually does happen, Imagine no longer having electricity because 80% of the power plants that we currently have rely on coal to operate. And the average citizen not being able to drive around in their expeditions all day because only the very rich, very wealthy will be able to afford fuel for combustion engines that have remained largely, unchanged for the last 200 years, despite advances in technology. Big business, is content with killing us all in the future just to continue taking our money for the same services, all right, that they've offered to us for 2 centuries. That sounds fair, right? We should just keep paying them until the world's economy collapses. rather than insisting on viable alternatives and leaving these companies to their fates just like the rest of us. Okay? Be a part of the change. People are people no matter what color their skin is, and how they identify themselves as a gender, whose imaginary sky friend is older and lives in the bigger temple or mosque. Trust me, in the immediate future, all of these things will be irrelevant, and it will come down to all of us working as one to save what slender future the human race is facing, okay, as we move forward into this continuing age of technological and intellectual enlightenment. Enlightenment that could very well mark the coming of a second dark age for mankind if we continue to embrace outdated and irresponsible concepts and ideals and ways of thinking which our forefathers required for them to understand the why. Okay, we don't need that. We no longer need superstitious beliefs or divine providence to tell us why a thunderstorm happened or why a tsunami washed ashore following an earthquake, all right? It's time to grow up, Earth, and start acting our age instead of playing cowboys and Indians in the hidebound and protectively fenced yard of our aging and senile parents. Okay? Please just listen, just think about what I said. All right? It doesn't take a lot to stop carrying around all that hate and anger and just reminding yourself that people are just people. Okay? Nobody's perfect. We all have feelings and emotions and faults that sometimes cause us to make mistakes or speak too quickly, speak before we've thought about what we're saying. Stop being so damn offended by things you've got no right being offended by and learn to let it go. And keep hitting for the touchdown as a team, okay? It's one Earth or no Earth. Okay, kids? You've been listening to the Heartless Podcast. I'm Heartless. Your voice needs to be heard. Keep the faith in humanity, and last but not least, have a nice day.